Hello and welcome to the First Citizen Guy channel. I'm the First Citizen Guy, and today I just couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. I've literally just got back from my vacation from seeing my family and friends. I'm feeling a little bit better, and here I am. I've been thinking about Are You Really Okay? And I've been reading all your comments, and a lot of you have been telling me that this is from the point of view of Vessel's mother. And naively, I completely forgot about the Guardian artworks as well, because usually the past few songs have been visualizers and this one wasn't. So I went back and I had a look at also, I think it was Ascensionism, where there wasn't one, and obviously Are You Really Okay? Because it was the most recent episode. And you guys were talking about the artwork. I've gone back and I've had a look at it, and yeah, I mean, listen, this kind of motherly guardian type figure, right? I'm going to stick it on the screen so you guys can see it all as well. Um, but it's really fascinating, and it's cradling what looks to be an unborn child in some kind of glass see-through chamber that's connected to some sort of like pipe, which you could say is an umbilical cord type thing that goes into her stomach. And she has these spider type appendages, sort of legs with this protective metal casing around her body. She's also got a sword. There's kind of like this metal, like visor helmet thing with a feather coming out the top of it. And it's fascinating because, yes, that screams that this has some kind of motherly overtone to it. And whether that is Vessel's mother, or, of course, I went and did some digging. And there is a very Jungian theory that I was reading late last night that I just could not stop reading. It was fascinating. And I'll come on to that in a minute. But what I want to do first and foremost is actually listen to the song all the way through. And then at the end, we can then go through and break it down, not line by line, but sort of an overview breakdown of the song, thinking about this new motherly perspective, because I definitely think you guys are onto something with that. All right. Second listen, but with a first different perspective. Someone said this is very Led Zeppelin, and it totally is. This guitar. And by the way, thank you for all your kind messages as well. I'm starting to feel a lot better. So hopefully by this week's Sleep Token Sunday episode, I'll be back on point.
I raised you in the dark, caught you reading by the sunrise. You wandered from the path.
Also has a little bit of kind of like an Incubus feel to this. So you were talking about the Dark Signs link there.
Don't you know I could see it in you even then.
Right. I could see it in you even then. What I want you guys to just think about now is there is what they call a motherly imago within a psyche, right? Which is basically imprinted from your mother from a very, very young age. So I saw it in you even then. And I've said many, many times so far through this album, it's very, very reflective, right? Looking back on sort of moments, fractured memories, little tiny pieces of trying to put things together to make him or help him understand what actually happened, all these different fragments. And again, this is very reflective. Now, the motherly sort of overtone of this particular song is absolutely there. And then you've got the imagery of the motherly guardian. But when I was doing some research late last night, as I always do, there's this fascinating thing with the Jungian lens, which is the maternal imago. And I'll read you out the definition because it's Yeah. So a maternal imago is an unconscious, idealized mental image of the mother formed in infancy and retained into adulthood. Rooted in psychoanalysis and analytical psychology, it shapes how a person views authority, seeks romantic partners, and handles emotional attachment. So, the unconscious blueprint, the imago, is an inner symbol or blueprint compiled from early interactions with a primary caregiver blended with universal archetypes. It encompasses both the nurturing, comforting provider and the demanding, frustrating, or archaic authority figure. In imago relationship therapy, people often unconsciously seek romantic partners who match the positive and negative traits of this early maternal imago to resolve childhood wounds. That really, really, really struck a chord with me with this particular song, because I think so many of it is also deep rooted throughout this, and it explains a lot of that anxious avoidant attachment. And are we seeing Vessel for the very first time, just giving us a glimpse into his childhood here? Because you're rightly sort of connecting some the lyrics to Dark Signs about living out in this sort of rural area where there were no lights. It was very, very dark, wandered off the path, etc., etc. But is this, instead of it literally being his mother, it is Vessel, as in present day Vessel, his psyche, but it's the maternal imago part of his psyche that is reflecting back on teenage Vessel, looking back at that moment, maybe the very first time, when he did self-harm himself. Just have that kind of perspective. Maybe not the literal mother, although it absolutely could be. And I'm not trying to say that, I'm not poo-pooing that at all. I'm just saying it's just really interesting from a psychological standpoint, because obviously that's what I've been using throughout, almost day one. And just seeing it through that perspective for the rest of this song. Anyway, I'll bring it back a little bit.
Even then, don't you know I was trying to hold back the darkness.
And that, if you think of that, I was trying to hold back the darkness. So even as a young man, or going through, his sort of puberty days where hormones were rife and he was trying to figure out what was going on with his body, maybe even then, as he was coming out of those years, he knew something wasn't quite right within him. And does that stem from his upbringing, from, a baby? An infant, a toddler, I don't know. And I don't want to sort of start spreading and saying things that just aren't even there. But it's just interesting, isn't it, that you've got this, that it stems from something. And yes, you can look at Atlantic and say, something major happened there. But is that the trauma that this all kind of stems from? I don't know. It's just these things are so deep rooted. And a lot of it does go back to childhood. That is there something there that happened to him? This is what Sleep Token does, right? And there's no correct answer.
Are you really okay? Are you really okay?
I mean, that line, if you've got children or you've got, a close friend or a lover that's you just, is going through something that you just can't help, and you feel helpless, and you see it happening in front of yourself, but it is soul crushing, it is devastating as a parent to see, one of your children hurting so deeply and not being able to make things better for them. I mean, I don't, yeah, it's heart-wrenching. I've forgotten what I was going to say now because that's just completely just thrown a. So, if this is him looking back, there's also an element as well, just thinking about it, that maybe he's recalling this moment, this kind of conversation, these memories again. Maybe it's not sort of one specific time that this happened in his sort of teenager years. I'm talking like sort of 16, 17, 18, that type of age. But he could be recollecting a conversation or a time that he had with his mother as well when this happened, and he could be speaking from her point of view, or like I said, recollecting those and recalling those memories and trying to put that together into this kind of literal story, as it were, for this song. I don't know, but it's really. And also kudos to Two as well, because he ain't going off on this. He is letting these lyrics sink in, and he's just every so often putting some kind of like dynamism in the background just to emphasize, the chorus or whatever. But the majority of the time, he's letting this hit hard. And that's why these two, as in Vessel and Two, work so well together, because they understand the power of musicality, of lyricism, and when to kind of put it in an incredible feel, or when to let things sit in silence, or to let something echo or build up tension. They're masters at it. God, that is just so crushing. And that line there, "I don't believe you when you tell me you are fine," is so heartbreaking, because it proves that Vessel was lying to himself and is lying to himself. And if this is him looking back on it, he's still going through those cycles and those patterns to this very, very day. And so it's been such a long process and long journey for him, that for him to realize and understand what's been going on, or try to understand anyway what's been going on since then, after all this time. And then you've got the adding to the mix this relationship, this, I would say, tumultuous, this relationship that was built on projection and lust. And I say lust because if you go back to, I was re-listening to EP1 and Thread the Needle and things, because there's lots of lines in there that says, about talking about lust. And I'm going to most likely, once we've finished all of this, go back to EP1 and potentially EP2 and just see, is that where the webs start? Because I think they do, threading the needle time and time again, the cycles, the patterns, weaving in and out like a thread, like a web. Anyway, that's for another episode. Desperation of the plead. And the repetitiveness as well of that at the end of this song, and it ends in a really kind of exhausted, desperate, tired plea of please don't hurt yourself again. And I almost imagine him, my brain, this is kind of how it works. I kind of create images of almost vessels standing there saying that line, potentially with some kind of knife or something in his hand. And he's just looking at himself in the mirror saying, please don't hurt yourself again. And maybe that's him remembering this first time that he did it, that he self-harmed, and he's remembering that time when his mother was, I don't know, I mean, it could be anything, couldn't it? But anyway, let's go back to the Maternal Imago now. We've just listened to that because I do think it's quite compelling in terms of the lens and the Jungian lens that I'm using. And that type of interpretation. So what I want to do is just pick out. I've just got the lyrics in front of me here, so I can pick some of this out. So the going back to the visual of the Guardian. You've got the kind of this mother protector sword with sort of inner child type figure, right? Because the opening lyric, I think, is one of the most fascinating things. Is I raised you in the dark, which is extremely maternal, and it could be, he could have said anything from, I found you, I loved you in the dark, I found you in the dark, I wanted you, all of this types of things. But he's saying, I raised you in the dark. So it does give you that kind of parental, maternal sort of sentiment behind that line. And also, I was trying to hold back the darkness as well. That's the sort of protective layer, is, I was trying to ensure that whatever it was that was happening, either externally or internally, that I was getting to you before it was getting to you. So it is that sort of layer of protection, of maybe having that conversation or seeing your son, daughter cry, going up and saying, what's wrong? Talk to me, speak to me. I'm here for you. I'll protect you from it. Whatever it is, it's okay. We can push through it together. That's the kind of like the sort of symbolism that I'm getting behind that particular line. But as you kind of go through the lyrics, for example, you got, I raised you in the dark. I could see it in you even then. You woke me up one night. I saw it in your eyes. I can see it in you even now. There's a very sort of, strong past to present sort of feel to this, and tense with the language that he's using. And when he's saying even then, it's suggesting that this has been visible for some time, right? That's kind of why I felt like could almost go back to childhood, to his teenage years. And then he also uses, even now. So he's explicitly saying it's still happening to this very, very day. So there's been this whole kind of journey of, like like we know that a trauma that he's endured, and that's exactly what he's been doing. He's enduring it. He's not relishing it, although you could say some points within a relationship he enjoys that darkness. But I think overall, the overarching kind of story here is that he's been enduring this thing. And this whole album now is about trying to face it head on, which is what he's doing. He's reflecting, he's recollecting, he's recalling, and he's trying to understand it, pick through it. So I would say that this kind of song feels like it's got almost two timelines to it that are overlapping almost. If you think you've got teenage Vessel and something is happening internally, and he begins hurting himself, and a maternal or guardian type figure discovers it, and she tries to protect him, but she can't fix it. And then you've got adult Vessel, and the wound is still there. And that would make the song less about one particular incident, as it were, and much more about the origin of the wound And I said, you know, we've all sort of seen it in lots of his songs that he uses and references, you know, wounds, scars, particularly, you know, you keep saying in the comments as well that there's visible scars on his wrists and arms. So, you know, I definitely agree with you that there is self-harming happening here, and he's using this beautiful language that he does so eloquently to reference those. But they also reference, I think, something even deeper, and that is the psychological trauma and the reasoning behind the actions that he is doing himself. So yeah, so for me, I think there is this kind of motherly archetype here that's living with him subconsciously that maybe stems from his mother, and he has projected this maybe upon someone else, you know, with the anema projection. It all kind of stems from, you know, a similar place within the psyche. And maybe she does play a huge part in all of this in terms of his mother. You know, I don't know if she's still alive. Does anyone know, you know, if she's still alive or not? But maybe there is something there that we need to kind of think about. And I think that very last line is, you know, please don't hurt yourself again. And are you really okay? You know, I don't believe you when you tell me you are fine, which is something that your mother would absolutely say to you in that moment. Absolutely. But like I said, what if it's also Vessel, present day Vessel, talking to his younger self, his younger version, and asking him the same question? I mean, that would create such an incredible and clever psychological doubling there, wouldn't it, of a song? You know, that you had all those years ago, the mother asking the same question, and then years later, you've got adult Vessel also asking the same question to himself or to the inner child within him, you know, revisiting the old wounded child within himself, you know, and maybe that's what the Guardian is doing. It's protecting that inner child within him, possibly. And so I kind of want to bring now this all into focus a little bit in terms of where we've been going through with this album, you know, seeing the relationship for what it is. I think for the very, very first time, the anema projection, you know, has integrated, and Vessel has starting to see and understand the cracks that built up over time with this relationship or relationships. I still don't know. But what I want to just explore quickly now is how this song and that kind of motherly archetype also then puts a sort of another layer onto this relationship, because could the relationship with this woman be the repetition of the origin and the original kind of attachment wound? I need you to make me safe, but you can't actually make this darkness disappear. As in when he was boy Vessel talking to his mother and feeling it then, but knowing that she wasn't able to save him or protect him from the darkness back then, and how that kind of repetitiveness has then escalated and projected onto relationships. But then also you can then talk about the uh, sort of anxious avoidant attachment as well, and wanting to be saved, but then them getting too close and pulling away. You know, I become afraid of needing you. I pull back. I desperately want you back. I idealize you, but then I resent you. I fear losing you. I fear being consumed by you. You know, there's that kind of cycle again of the push and pull, the anxious avoidant attachment, you know, and it all kind of plays its part within this. It's so complex, it's unbelievable. So the romantic partner becomes the person whom Vessel then projects that maternal archetype, the anema projection, the original origin of the attachment from his mother potentially. And I think that's why it's so hard when to figure out sometimes who is talking, whose perspective is it? You know, is it from Vessel's? Is it from hers, the romantic female? You know, his mum, the anema projection. And I think the answer is it's all of them. It's all of them there because they all kind of originate from the same place. They've just developed over the years. Again, the webs. So I think if you go back to the songs like Ascensionism, where he realizes what the relationship was, the kind of manipulation behind it all, and peeling back the layers and seeing it for what it was, and then you're going to watch me ascend, and how two people were psychologically, entangled, to Are You Really Okay, which is going back almost to the beginning. This song, I think, takes us all the way back to the beginning of the origins of the psychological breakdown, whatever that was. And lastly, I think if we go into the kind of symbolism of the spider, which is, I think, again, you could say starts from thread the needle, and that being a metaphor thread of web potentially, and the whole every single song since then, they're all sort of interconnected in some kind of way, and the web's getting bigger and bigger and stronger. And you could say that is the spider sleep, weaving his webs throughout all these songs? Or maybe we have to ask, okay, but what does the spider represent? Because a spider's web is an incredible metaphor for attachment, right? Because as soon as you are spun in a spider's web, you are attached to it. You can move, but the more you move, the more entangled you become, the more it suffocates you. And I think that kind of spider symbolism, and again we saw it in Alkaline as well in that music video, which the spider kind of in the shadow on the window pane or whatever it was, in the stairwell, and that kind of spider like fingers. I mean, they look more like branches to me, but I definitely think there is a lot of symbolism in that song to do with the spider, um, and the webs that it's been weaving. Maybe the spider, and there is something called a mothering spider as well. Could the mothering spider be the mother? And could the mother be the origin of everything that has come after that? So, yes, this has been about a relationship, a romantic relationship with another woman. But also, have we been sort of misreading a potential perspective and layer of this, of his relationship with his mother? I don't know. I genuinely do not know. And oh God, do we have to go through it all back again? But but maybe there is that layer there. Maybe that's why I wanted to do this other reaction, because something wasn't sitting right inside here and inside there. And I always say, always trust your gut. And that's why I wanted to do this. But the more and more I speak on camera now, and the more I think about it, the more and more I think there is something here that is far more powerful, and something that I haven't really thought of until now, that I think maybe I need to investigate a little bit more. But it just connects everything so perfectly well. And then to finish up, how does this then relate to the album Take Me Back to Eden? Well, what if Eden is the place that he wants to go back to before all of this happened? When he was a child, when he was sweet and innocent, untouched, naive to everything, to the world, a bit like Adam and Eve before they bit into that apple, a bit like before Thread the Needle, when he took the apple, gave his heart as a sacrifice to the relationship, or to the trauma that then came after that moment. I mean, is that what Take Me Back to Eden is? He wants to get back to that. But the sad thing is, we're all sitting here while he's on this journey, knowing that that is completely impossible, because you can't go back. The only way you can is move forward. And his vessel's only way forward is to go through the trauma, to do the shadow work, to remember all of these fragments of memories that have hurt him over time, that have caused the cuts on his arms, that have caused the tears late at night, the suffocation and chokehold, the picking apart of the layers in Aqua Regia, but also the descents, within Take Me Back, This Place Will Become Your Tomb, the recollection of what happened in Atlantic, Drag Me Under, Succumbing to It All, all these songs are there, and he's lived through them, and he can't forget them. Every piece of these songs have to remain with him now in order to self-integrate and become whole again. But the devastating thing is that Eden, that place that he's holding so dear in his mind as to where he wants to get to is not a real place, and it's not something he will ever get to. You know, Eden, he thinks, is that psychological purification, when really it's what it is, and what it has to be is psychological wholeness. So anyway, I hope you find that interesting. You might think I'm absolutely spurting out a load of rubbish here, and rightly so, because it could just be rubbish. We don't know, but that's the fun part of this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please like, please subscribe. We've still got a long way to go, and let me know in the comments. I'm thinking, because of the hype of Euclid, I mean, it's beyond, right? I'm thinking of actually doing that as an episode on its own. So if you think that I should do that, then please raise your hand in the comments, and I shall definitely do that. But I think it's obviously seems to be such a huge part of the puzzle for not only this, but I think for the whole journey so far, that I feel like it needs a dedicated episode. But anyway, that was Are You Really Okay? That was me kind of delving a little bit deeper into the sort of psychological themes, backgrounds of it all. And I will love you and leave you with those thoughts. I'll see you on the next one.
I'm the first singer, taking it all in. Let the record play, let the journey begin.